Gives you an idea of the size of that. That kale, it's got a fair amount of roots on the bottom. That is a fairly decent sized kale. Well, we finally come through with a decent sized kale, even though she's getting a little bit bitten on the sides and shit. Yeah, and of course it was only possible by bursting a bunch of roots out the bottom. Look at the size of the base there. I don't know how well you can see that because it's all going all bright and dark and bullshit again. Here we go. That's the actual stump base there. That is wider than my thumb. Oh, yeah. It's a bit hard to compare it to my thumb, even though I'm... There we go. There's my thumb next to it. Anyways, I'll cut this off. And as you might be able to hear, the pot's already going, so... There we go, she's decent size there. Of course I won't be cooking that yellow leaf. Here's the base of it, next to my thumb. Pretty bloody impressive size base on it. Yeah, if I had planted that in the soil, it would have done that a hell of a lot earlier. But the original one I had was like that, but a hell of a lot more leaves and bushy in that because it was planted directly in the soil. Anyways, I'll get this in. I'll chop it up so I can actually fit it in the pot. And yeah. Okay. It's very, very windy today. It was raining before. Mucho viento. Muy viento. All this seems to have blown down with the wind, and a lot of it's sort of blown onto the path as well, so probably got to get a whippersnipper and go for gold and try and clean that up. This is going quite well, actually. Don't exactly know what this is. My parents call it potato plant. Apparently it's poisonous. Poisonous to sheep anyway. They think it's a potato plant. I don't think the same bush that we call potato plant is actually what they think it is. People have them around, but I still don't know what the name of them is. Nice anyway, that was in a pot that my uncle had, and I just moved it from one area to another and plonked it there, and the roots went right through the bottom of the pot, and the pot split to bits. It got all the sow thistle. Getting ridiculously tall. Some of these other things should be just about, well, they sort of are. The stinging nettles all dropping seeds, and as you can tell, the grass is dropping seeds as well. Anyway, today we're going to have a go at harvesting this. This is getting ridiculously big, and I think it's time we take off the netting. I need to fertilise this. I got some native fertiliser with the plants in this country that are native, as is this native mint. They basically are no good with any high level phosphorus fertilisers, so you need a specialised fertiliser which isn't hard to get because it's becoming so common to grow native plants in your garden. So when I go to church, I'm going to use this stuff as well, and that one. That's just your normal vegetable, and tomatoes and everything else. This is different. This lasts for 6 months. Most of it only ever lasts for 3 months, but now we've got fertilisers that are slow release. They go for 6 months. These were both about $7 each. $6.88, which is probably about, I don't know, $5, $5.50 US. Oh hell, it's even got a flaming wedding agent in this. Yeah, there's two. Anyway, it's a pretty common old brand Osmocape, but these, the other fertiliser I got is reasonably good tubs. These are not much better than the one the margarine's in. Oh jeez, it's just done a domino effect. Bang, 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 bang. Having said that, I've got to get rid of a lot of this mayonnaise and aioli and that one there's tartare sauce that's got bugger all left in it. But anyway, I've got to fling this out onto the native mint. As I said, low phosphorus. And I'll take that to church and do the natives at church that they planted a whole stack of. And I really just bought this one just for church because I've fertilised everything I've got around here, so I'll throw this on the tomatoes and onions and all the other crap that we planted. With all this big weekends and going away and whatnot, I really haven't had a look at the garden for a few weeks because I haven't been to church for a few weeks. You know, and yeah, part of the reason that I was going to church is sort of faded off into the distance anyway. And one or two of you might know what I'm talking about there. Anyways, I got some just a couple of weeks ago, wandering around, a bit too much money in my pocket. I've got a set of scissors around here. I keep misplacing them. They're old. They don't really stay very close together, so I got these for about $4 or $5. Probably could have got some from the $2 shop, but these were there in the supermarket as I was there, and I thought, bingo, I'll get them. So I'll probably go out there and snip it with those. They're quite good, actually. Obviously, because they're only barely being used. So anyway, I don't know about how well she's going to dry. It's been strange, you know. It's just bongo drums. I am still using the wood heater. No joke. Still lighting a fire. Actually, there's a ash. I tend, instead of just throwing it out there, I tend to put it in there, let it cool down in there inside a steel tin. You know, don't want it to be thrown in the embers outside. Not really. It's just safer that way, even though the grass is green. There's a lot of dried out roots and bullshit of that strange Madeira vine and everything that's hanging down in the pit out the back that I throw all the stuff into. This ridiculous Kale has decided it's going to try and throw a few shoots up, and the spinach that I've abandoned is reshooting to ridiculous levels to the point I might go and repluck some out. Yeah. Anyway, it's hard to believe actually, we're 2.5 weeks off summer and we got days that are so flippin' cool. Like it was 23 degrees before and then it started, which is like, it's like 75 Fahrenheit, and then all this come in and it all started raining, and that was the end of that. And now it's dropped down a bit. It's probably about 67 or something like that. Yeah, so you think you're getting warm days coming, but they're supposed to be coming, but they're not coming. It's as simple as that. So anyway, long story short, we're still getting rain, and we're still using a wood heater fairly often, actually, damn near every night still. Last night I realised if I put on a big log, it was going to be too hot. So I just had some reasonably heavy, what's his name, box thorn is probably in about, like 5 inches thick or something. Threw a bit of that in. And left the door open a little bit there, as I usually do. And which is propped open by, yes, another piece of box thorn. And yeah, gives you a little bit of warmth. Before I was just cleaning up rabbit guts and stuff from the blooming cat. Yeah, and then I decided to get some wet wipes, and there's little blood drips on the floor from said shenanigans with rabbits and everything else. I went and wiped all them up. And wet wipes are good for, obviously, dry blood and anything that's sort of gone dry. Yeah, isn't that right? El gato gorda. And you're not a fat cat, are you? You're a skinny cat. You're a little cat. You hear how vocal she is? It just keeps meowing. Hey? Is that right, pussy? No, you thought I'm going to pick you up. Sometimes I make her run and go and pick her up, and she doesn't really like it. Had a funny one the other day. We're in the kitchen and she's eyeballing me as I come out of the bedroom, and I start staring back at her, and then I went and made a colossal jump, and she jumped like bloody hell. It was like about 3/4 of a car length in one jump. Just trying to get away. Just playing around. Kitties love playing around, don't they? They love active stuff, don't they? Hey? We'll get right up close to her and then she go running off. Well, I can't pat her. It's just sort of almost like a game of chase me, and then she'll walk right back, won't you, hey? You cute pussy. Anyway, starting to get a lot of grass on it because all this grass is drying out that I've been snipping and all that. It's, yeah. She comes in with a lot of grass. Isn't that right, buddy? It's that time of year, well, starting to be that time of year where this happens badly in the summer. She comes in and there's all these little bits of dry grass on the bed, and I just sort of keep sweeping them off with my hand. Because she just loves rolling around. I don't know if I mentioned it, the oats crop that's up the road that I showed, that's all been cut, and they call it a compressor. Yeah, compressor, that was the word. It's basically a mower, like your little blades that sort of go over each other, combined with rollers, and it'll break the cells. If you know a bit about tea production, when they deal with green tea is just picked straight off a plant and left to dry. Black tea, in other words, English tea, whether it's, you know, English breakfast or whatever, basically any black tea, actually, not just English tea, although the English mainly drink black tea, that is rolled. It's put through a roller, and they burst the cells in the process. Now, in that, it will change the flavour of the tea. but it also helps it dry quicker. So that's what they do with these those people who own them. I never even knew they existed, really. Most people just mow down the crop to turn into hay. Hay is when you have the seeds in there. Straw is no seeds. Most of them just mow it down and let it dry out on its own. When you run it through this machine they call a compressor, which is basically just a mower with rollers attached, yeah, it flattens it and bursts the cells, and as a result it dries very quickly. Also, especially if the grain isn't completely hard, or maybe if the grain is sort of pretty much 75% hard still, as I think these ones would have been, it'll basically crush the grain. So instead of getting wheat or oats and then trying to put it through a hammer mill or some sort of thing like that to give you cracked wheat, you can do what this friend of my dad's has done with that crop that I showed you guys. It's not on his property, it's across the road from me, but he made a deal with the owner to basically put crop in there, and because of this ridiculously good season, well, they expect something like, oh, what is it, like 48 million tonne of grain crops this year, the highest ever on record for the country. It's not going to be worth anything when they sell it. So those who are smart enough are trying to turn it into hay. Now, if you're a smart cookie, instead of waiting till it's dried out and trying to turn it into hay, and all the grains just fall all over the ground and you can't crush them, you get it when it's still green. And the nutrition is held in it better if you cut it when it's green. It is more nutritious to the sheep, full stop. It's just the way it is. And on top of that, putting it through this compressor to run the rollers, before it's ripe, the grain isn't hard. When it's ripe, the grain's so hard that the rollers probably wouldn't do anything, but because it's not fully ripe, the grain is sort of soft and the rollers will flatten it, and then you end up with not a great bunch of oats grown in the paddock from the seeds that fall out from feeding the sheep hay. You end up with ones that the sheep will eat, no chance of any bloating or anything like that, because it's effectively like cracked oats, well, rolled oats rather, and yeah, none of it will sprout, but they still get that nutrition, just pretty much the same as just eating rolled oats, plus the extra nutrition from the fact that it was cut green as opposed to cut dry in the middle of summer. But anyways, that's what's happened with that crop. Fava beans are still growing out the back on the way to work, and yeah, so as you can hear, it's raining again, so I'm going to have to sit this out before I whack this on. And I got quite a bit of chicken on the cheap the other day, so I probably should eat some chicken. It's, holy smoke, it's 3:40. I spent a bit of time sleeping in, obviously, and then I got up and drank some milk, and then it started raining again, so I went back to bed for another hour. So a bit of a lazy day. You sort of need a lazy weekend after the phenomenal weekend we had previously, but anyways, it's good that I got all the fertiliser on all this stuff out here while it was still raining. With the one at church, of course, what I'll do is I'll get the hose out, the trigger nozzle, and go and, you know, water a bit of that fertiliser in, so to speak. Yeah, I might as well show you the tomatoes. These things are unbelievable. A it's probably getting time that we've got to start staking them. It wouldn't be too far off. These are seriously getting big. I can't actually believe how good the growth has been. And this is the other thing, I'll just show it quickly. Oh, what do you know? That's flowers ready to come out. That is flower buds. There's some more. They're huge. I was always overcautious. That one's got flower buds. God, blimey. Most of these things are getting close to coming out in flower because the buds are sitting right there, ready to go. And obviously you get the little yellow flower comes out, it's only about that big or whatever. And then we go from there. Flower buds all seem to be very high up. That's probably why they need staking. Anyways, I sort of feel in many ways like I was worried about over-fertilising the spinach and burning it and blah 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 and all this stuff, and I never fertilise things very heavily in pots because of fear of having seen what used to happen in the nursery where they just have to throw everything out. They'd over-fertilise it, it'd burn it, and it'd all die, just all die straight up. And there's no way they could save it. I asked them all that. I said, what if you just kept watering? It's finished anyway. It's gone. Game over, you know. And I used to be paranoid about that, but now that I had a read of the label of that other stuff, I come to realise that I wasn't putting on anywhere near as much as I should, and I put on an appropriate amount for those tomatoes, and guess what? Kaboom! They flamin' have responded like I would have never believed it. I can remember only blooming 6 weeks back, those damn things are about, you know, like 4 inches tall. And look at them now. Flipping enormous. They all had about 4 to 6 leaves on them. Look at them. Like they're just about to come out and flower. They're huge. So that might have been some of the issues and whatnot that I had. It is one of these things in the winter. You're not supposed to fertilise a lot, because things don't grow as fast because of the lack of heat. But with today's slow release fertilisers, you know, they release slowly, but they've gone one better with most of these fertilisers now. They release, particularly the Osmocote brand has always been known for this for a long time. They release only according to the levels of heat, so the hotter it gets, the more slow release fertiliser they release. And the cooler it gets, the less they release. So yeah. Anyways, I'll wait for all this to blow over and I'll get out there. Okay. Well, I ended up sleeping too much yesterday. It's just nice, having a good snooze. And of course Black Kitty comes and joins me, and didn't really get started on this as I was hoping to. I did creep out and fertilise these though, the native mint. Yeah, that bag is absolutely packed full, and I'm starting with a decent amount in the second bag, and all we've done is trim down one edge here and a little bit in this corner. That's it. I would not be surprised if there's 5 or 6 bags in this. I'm not joking. There is a chronic amount. It's going to take a bit to dry it all. Long story short, if we sneak into here, I will show you my plan. Very complicated plan. It's got a bit of air dust and stuff. That's been there for a while. Hopefully I can unwrap that a certain way. And there may even be a case of just using one of these, so that I've got a few polyester shirts like this, maybe even one of the old work shirts. They've got heaps of ventilation in them. And tying it up with a bit of string and maybe a couple of hose clamps. For this one I could actually just use string to tie the bottom off, and I don't know how I'm going to do the neck, and of course I can just tie knots in the sleeves if I was to use one of my old work shirts and hang that off one of the rails involved, you know, in the ceiling near my wood heater flue, the same way I usually dry clothes, and fill it full of mint, or maybe have several of them full of mint, and just slowly let the wood heater tick over. It's probably going to be ticking over tonight because, yeah, that's the clouds. It is, what you can see there is the forest in the distance, and the rest of that is just dark, dark clouds. So, yeah. Very warm day, and then just suddenly decided it was going to change, and I was in there on the free Wi-Fi, and it started raining a little bit, and then it was just a frickin' torrent, and the gutters on the road couldn't handle it, and it went berserk. Anyway, it cleared itself like nothing had happened within about half an hour or an hour, and there's barely a puddle around. How's this? She pretty dark old clouds. Anyway, it was only raining about 10 minutes ago, but I'm back out here, and we will continue on. I don't think sheep like mint. I think it's just too strong for them, quite simply. A lot of things, you know, sort of like that, you know, mint, different herbs, they wouldn't be able to handle the taste, neither would rabbits. And you got things like tomatoes, which just, the right sheep will eat the damn tomatoes off the plant, but they won't eat the leaves of the plant. And rabbits don't even bat an eyelid at tomatoes. Not even interested, because of the smell of the leaves and all that. But I do know there's certain sheep who are smart enough to realise that a tomato is worth eating, even if the plant isn't. Anyways, banging away with my little cheapo scissors, and I shall continue on. Plums are getting pretty good on this. In case you're wondering where we are in the big scheme of things, this is the same day that I showed the highly upgraded church garden and fertilised it, and ran out of fertiliser, and I bought some more fertiliser, and yeah. Anyway, these shouldn't be too long off. Some of the ones around the corner, the other plums, looking pretty good. I will say though, the box thorn is just about flattening one of them. Don't know how we're going to go with everything. I do really plan to get a toilet set up this year. We'll see what the future holds after January the 9th, and we might get to pull out just some of these box thorns around the house. I'm assuming we will get a little bit of time. They said it might be 2 or 3 weeks before they can rustle up any work after this warehousing job finalises itself with the movement of all the warehouse stock to a new warehouse. Anyways, probably should mow all this too. Like I was saying, probably end up doing it tomorrow morning, because it's going to take a while to snip all this, and like it's already, God, late enough anyway. It's late enough. What are we looking at here? I don't have the lights on. Oh, holy smoke, 7:22 PM. Yeah, that's going to happen tomorrow. Maybe after I finish snipping this, hopefully. Wow. It's taken a while. I might get through this tonight. I might not quite get it all. Anyway, go get back to it.